All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on our second episode here of the Master Plan podcast experience. I'm here with special guest Brett Urioste. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's pretty close. Brett Urioste.
Urioste. All right, man. Well, let's start off with that. Tell us a little bit about, your background, last name. I think it's very unique, right? First time I ever heard of it. So
yeah, whenever we met, actually, when I was working at the Wells Fargo at the time, I had to tell everyone. A lot of people asked me about that, so it kind of became like a funny joke at the place because I tell everyone they'd be like, "Oh, your name," and then everyone would look at me because they knew I'd have the same answer, but it would just be like. Because it's Spanish Basque, right?
Yeah.
So growing up, we don't have a heavy Spanish background in our household, so I feel like everyone was pronouncing it wrong. So it's something that I've had.
Even the family members.
Even the family members, I hear them say it now, and I'm like, well, who? But yeah. So it's Spanish Basque, so has that kind of a Spanish pronunciation.
Awesome.
So yeah.
A little bit
awesome,
about that. So Brett, obviously, so Brett wasn't aware that he was going to get interviewed today, so it caught him off guard, guys. So, Brett, so tell us, what's gotten you to this point? Why are you here today? Obviously, real estate. We're in the real estate office. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit of the background behind that.
Just how I got my start here, or just over the last few years where I've kind of built myself to.
Yeah, kind of how did life take you to this point?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I met Eric, I was going to school at CSUB for my bachelor's in marketing. I like the creative aspect of that. And it's, business background, so I figured there's a lot I could do with it. Mm-hmm. Fast forward through that, pandemic hit. I didn't have any internships lined up right outside of college. And with that degree, there's a lot of skills that you need that you don't really learn in school.
Right.
So that was kind of a daunting thing as well. I was, going to school at home, working full time, going to school full time. And, I didn't have a lot of opportunities, but luckily I had met Eric. And Eric had offered me to come in and shadow a couple times, which, real estate I think is it's kind of like a cooler sounding career path anyway. So of course it's something that, piques, I think, most people's interest.
Right.
So when I finished school, cleared up a lot of my availability, and there was no right now ways to increase my income or get a promotion, things like that. So really it was just taking Eric up on that offer to come in and shadow his team, shadow the brokerage, see what he does, check out the environment. Mm-hmm. And from there, with you helping me create a plan, it was kind of a no-brainer that I could definitely make the same money I was currently making plus more just by starting down that path with you. So from there, it was just putting my 2 weeks in, showing up every day at the office, getting licensed, and just slowly building myself up to where I am now, where it's been my third year with the team. I'm starting to see, referrals and so on. And so it just really has grown over that time. So, yeah.
Cool, man. Good stuff. So basically, so before we met, Brett was a banker at Wells Fargo. Mm-hmm. I would walk in there and deposit some pretty big checks, and Brett just asked, "Hey, what do you do?" Right? Just kidding. It wasn't like that. Anyways, but were you before that? Did you know of anyone in real estate? Did you know about real estate much?
Honestly, I don't think that I knew very much about it. As an industry, right? Mm-hmm. I knew that there were ways to make a decent career, build yourself up. Getting investment properties, flips, so on. I knew a little bit about things, but I never really dived in to research it.
Okay, but no family, friends in the industry.
No,
you're the first one.
I'm the first one. I think the first people I heard about actually doing something in real estate was actually the Mora name that did come across a couple times at a previous job. So I was like, okay, so Moras do a lot in real estate. And then upon meeting you, I'm like, oh, this is one of the Moras in real estate. So, but no friends or family that had ventured into it prior.
Awesome. So what makes Brett a unique agent? What makes Brett special? What makes you so successful in what you're doing now?
Well, I guess just based on some feedback I've heard from my clients, when they refer me out, one recently.
So can't be a little cocky here.
Right. Well, no. I guess it's just what they say. I heard that I'm attentive, right? Yeah. I think I care, whether it's the details or just making a client feel comfortable with the next steps, whether that's explaining it or I guess presenting it in a way that doesn't make it feel scary. Right. So I think that's one big thing is that I do care about my transactions and how that impacts my clients, right? I don't like to just throw them into something blind, not knowing what's going to happen. and like I guess without caring about what are they actually getting into. It's a home. It's a big purchase.
Right.
So I think that's one big thing is that my attention to detail and like I guess I don't know. I guess just how I go through the process with my clients.
You think you built that through a prior career? Or do you think that's kind of natural to you, or did you learn in school?
So I think that is kind of like learned experience over time. You know, whenever I did start going to school, I was working in customer service, and same way with Wells Fargo, more customer service, where I'm like now I'm presenting, what's it called, products and explaining or just helping, right? So I think I kind of grew that over time. Actually, in a prior job at Starbucks, when I first started going back to school, I got into like a training role as well. So I kind of like teaching, which we do a little bit of that now with our...
Some kind of leadership teaching.
Yeah. Like, so I kind of like that. And,
so Wells Fargo, they didn't do that very much of that, or did they? More of the
not
products?
as much. More of Starbucks, right? They do try to like train you up and like give you those more of like teaching kind of roles. Yeah, skills, leadership. Yeah. That's
pretty cool. Okay. So tell me, besides real estate, I mean, what do you do? What's your hobbies? What keeps you busy?
So lately real estate has been taking up a lot of time, which is totally fine, but my hobbies would definitely motorsports, right? I think you and I both share that in common.
We're car guys.
Yeah, so I love cars. I love JDM cars. My car, like, well, luckily on this one, I had a lot of help piecing it together, so I didn't do as much like time on the ground working on it, but you know, I do like doing installs, little maintenance things, and then obviously driving the car. So that that's a big interest of mine there, I think, is that. I mean, besides that, I guess, right, I like traveling where I can, you know, more like relaxing weekend trips, and like to do like a big vacation maybe in the next year, right? I think
Where's that going to be at?
Japan.
Oh, wow, Japan.
That's the top pick for us is to do that. So I think I finally worked myself into a position now where I'm like, okay, like, you know, the workflow is kind of more consistent. I haven't taken any big vacations since getting in here, so I think now I'm gonna be at year 3. I'm like, all right, I've earned it. I put the time in. I can take that 1 or 2 weeks off to just do what I need to do, and I know that I have the systems in place to kind of take care of things while I'm away. So yeah, maybe next year.
Okay, so everyone that just listened to that, okay, that's thinking about getting in real estate. Okay, many people that jump into real estate, the biggest kind of mistake is that they take weekends off and take too many vacations, okay? I'm not sure they can afford to do that, but I will attest that, you know, Brett, you know, yes, you're right. I haven't seen you take a vacation or be gone for like more than a weekend, you know? So that's required, guys. You know, that is required in order to build a solid foundation to your new business, you know? You don't just take off on weekends, you know, you bust your butt off, you know, put into work, right? Not only with your clients, but also with your team, right? You let them, you show your team that you're reliable, right? That you're consistent, and that's a talent or skill, right? That's kind of, we don't see a lot of that. So thank you, man.
Yeah, no, Appreciate
of
course.
Thank you for that. So yeah, definitely for sure, you know. Let's see, tell me about a childhood memory. Tell me something, you know, that pops out there for you, man.
Oh man, I don't know, like in what aspect? Like
just anything, man. Like little Brett, man. What did he do, man? What's
little Brett? So I learned later in life that like little Brett was kind of like a heathen. I was a rough little child, like got into a lot of trouble. But so I feel like that's gonna come back around karma later in life when I have my own kids. I'm like kind of like. I feel like I'm like a little weary of what that might turn into.
I see.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a memory that kind of like pops like top of my head. I don't know.
So I was interviewing Alex last week, and you know we grew up together, right? So I'm like, all right, let's see what he's got to say, right? And he said he remembers, you know, we worked with our dad, right? Mowing lawns on the weekends and summers. And he remembers, you know, after years of working with my dad, we never got paid. But I remember he started paying us kind of around like our high school years to pay for our own, you know, clothing and stuff like that. Right. And so he remembers getting his first check, and this is on a job site that was, you know, it was a pretty heavy job, and we didn't think we were gonna get paid for that, right?
Right.
We're just gonna contributing, right? Well, Alex says he remembers getting that first check, you know, and he was like so excited for it, right? That he went and first thing he did was went to the mall.
Oh my gosh, spend it all.
And he did buy a pair of legs.
Oh my god.
I'm like, man, I kind of do remember that, you know? I remember that moment. But that was pretty cool, you know? So if you got something like that, anything that comes to mind?
I mean, if we're thinking like child work, I feel my parents didn't have like a landscaping business, but there was a time I remember like it was my stepdad at the time. He got really obsessed with palm trees, so I remember helping him have to plant a ton of trees, doing all this like crazy yard work at the house.
That's right.
And at that time, I absorbed a lot of not completely useless but slightly useless information regarding palm trees, so I can know a lot of those. It's come up a couple times when building rapport with clients or door knocking, right? Like a compliment, you know, like, oh, nice Sega palms, right? Oh, is that a pygmy, right? So that's something I would like, I guess relate it to a little bit, is like just doing a lot of like landscaping yard work at a certain point. Like we were doing like sprinklers and stuff like that, so we kept pretty busy like that around the home for a bit. So I guess that's the one way I relate.
So you know, you shared, you know, you're in your third year, right, of real estate. You know, give me a little forecast, some kind of, you know, some and go on and dream here for the next 5-10 years. What do you see yourself? What's Brett doing now?
So it's funny that you said that, because I was making like a joke to our escrow manager TC Yesenia just a moment ago, like that. I guess I was telling her that I guess I really don't know what my next 5 to 10 years looks like, right? Which I guess that might be the next stage, is to kind of paint a picture for myself, like goal wise, like what is my big crazy goal? Because I was telling her like I guess I'm kind of bad at that, like like planning ahead. I think if can make me a little, I guess, a little nervous, right? Of like, or what should I be doing in 5 years from now, right? Or like, or setting like that big crazy goal can be kind of like intimidating.
Right. Yeah, it can.
So I know right now what I've been doing is just really just kind of working as hard as I can, as much as I can, to really just keep building, you know, and just kind of, I guess, feeling as though I'm building more and more like, you know, success, right?
Okay.
But I guess that next stage for me is trying to like paint a picture for, okay, what do I want to be doing in 5 years, right? Like, what is that like look like for me? And I think that's one thing that I get a little nervous about. Yeah.
So a lot of us, you know, we've never been asked that question, right? Growing up, it was never really something we're taught to plan for or kind of even look forward to, right? Because either the job you're in or back when you grew up in. But 5 years, right? What I like to do is like, all right, I'm 38 right now. 5 years from now, I'm going to be 43. So 43 sounds scary, right? So what is a 43-year-old Eric doing? So that's one easy way of thinking about it, okay?
Right.
Maybe not what your day-to-days are, but maybe, you know, what so far at this pace you're at now, or even if you level up a little bit, right? Or put in some extra work, what does that look like as far as, you know, is it more vacationing, you know? More, is it a family? Is it, you know, living somewhere else, right? Those kind of things. Those are things to look forward to. And again, I do ask that question to a lot of people. They're like, man, I never even thought beyond like next year.
Week, right? There you go.
Next week, the weekend. So, you know, it is a good strategy to sometimes just like go out there and dream big, you know, like, hey, what's the worst case that can happen? It's like you fall forward, you know?
Right.
And so, you know, I'll give you a little quick update. So Brett had his birthday here about 2 weeks ago, right? And you want to talk about that? Yeah, what you did for your birthday?
Oh, sure, yeah. So going back to like, you know, my out of the office kind of interest, right? You know, cars. So that weekend, my girlfriend was asking me like, what do you want to do, right? And then we'd heard about where you go to Vegas and you can basically take out one of these exotic cars around the track and actually drive it pretty aggressively, like rip the car. Like I tore that car up as much as I could for the amount of time I could. Like they kind of like encourage that, but kind of one of my, I guess, like my goal or dream cars would be like the Nissan GTR, right? I'll take almost any generation of that, but this one was the R35, the latest model, and so I was able to go out there. Actually, I took out a starter car, was a Toyota Supra, which actually is pretty cool because I like that car as well. Got 4 laps in that, kind of get a feel of things.
Nice.
But then you're riding with a professional driver, and they're just like they're basically like coaching you throughout your go, like letting you know, like here, like just basically floor it, like brake hard, let off, like you're like ripping it through the corner, like screeching tires, right?
That's nice.
I'm going up to like 100 miles per hour before I just rip through this corner, and then I think when I got in the GTR. That was awesome because I never driven one, and here it is, my like dream car, right? So it was really cool finally getting to drive it. I got up to like 165, which is the fastest I've been in the car.
Oh, that's pretty quick. Damn.
And I remember I was talking to Eric about it prior. And I was just like, or actually afterwards, and I was like, dude, I freaking drove the shit out of this car. It was awesome. I was like, help me paint a plan of how I can get one. And so he did actually, which was really cool. And that made it kind of like real. Like I'm like, before you kind of just think of it's the dream car.
Right.
But Eric was actually able to put together some numbers, like, whether it's, close this many deals or start putting this much towards doing investments, flips, looking for off-market stuff, partnering for things. And it kind of made it more realistic where it's like, damn, like, well, if I am able to kind of stick to this, I can make that dream like a reality, which, yeah, it's like
very doable.
It's very doable to where it makes it kind of like, well, damn, I guess I don't have to like put it up on this like pedestal. It's like, no, this is something I can definitely achieve.
You're on the path already.
Yes.
Based on what you've already been creating.
So that was cool.
Yeah,
so I like that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit out of that plan. You don't have to go in details, but what stood out? Like, what is a key ingredient
to achieving that?
And achieving that, right?
I think it's just like the dedication is going to take to keep going, like not letting your foot off the gas to kind of like take too much time away or like, oh, I have a few deals open right now. Time to sit back and coast. I learned that in the first couple years when I got excited. I think the first time I had more than 2 escrows open at once, I'm like, oh, damn, don't have to do anything for the next
Vacation
2 weeks,
time,
right? Yeah. And that's not true because I think at that time I lost 3 escrows and I learned very quickly that, not everything's guaranteed. So it's just, it's cool that, to celebrate the wins, but it just got to keep moving forward. It's not a job or career where you want to just lean back and take too much time away from it. So I think that's really it. It's just showing up every day, consistent like I am, but also, I don't know, even almost like turning it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
we talked about stacking, right? Stacking deals, right? And how do you stack deals? Well, part is already doing what you're doing, but yes, you're going to get to build yourself to a comfortable point where you take on a lot. Yeah. Okay, you take on more than you probably can. And then you have support that can handle that.
Right.
But getting yourself almost like in trouble with so much deals, right? Ask for forgiveness later, right?
Right.
Tell your girlfriend, hey, I'm going to put in some extra overtime right now. But that's how you get ahead, guys. It's not just going at the same speed right now. It's really what created, if you go back at, your dad, your grandparents, what was that moment that changed the family tree, right?
Right.
Or what changed, if you look at successful stories, you go back and usually a lot of times it was a defeat, something happening in life where they got beat up.
Right.
Life beat them up and then they bounced back even stronger, right? So what is that life defining moment for you guys out there, right? Maybe Brett has one. He hasn't shared it, maybe he did. But that's what it takes, That's really what it is. Okay. Well, Brett, any last words you want to share with the followers out there? Anyone looking to get in real estate? What advice would you give them? Okay.
Getting into real estate, I would say, and I kind of got some similar advice when I started from one of our other team members, is just to kind of like, I guess, prepare yourself or prepare those close around you that like, hey, I'm going to be spending a lot of time involved with like the career, building the career, right? There's a lot of different things that go on with, I think, being successful in the industry. So I think it's just kind of preparing yourself and those others around you that like, hey, like, I'm going to be investing a lot of time into this. Right. Doesn't mean you're going to be busy 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's just kind of preparing yourself mentally that like, hey, it's not easy. I think everyone posts like the really like flashy stuff on the internet, where I'm sure we've come across even agents like that join, up with us and they just expect, that like there's been making a lot of money very quickly, which you definitely can, but you got to really put in the time and the work, and I'd say prepare yourself for that, and it definitely will come. Be a little patient, but if it's not coming as fast as you want it to, work harder, right? Invest more time. Exactly. So I think that's my big takeaway.
Okay. All right, awesome. Well, that is going to be it, guys, for episode 2 with Brett Urioste, Mora. We're joking around about that. Actually, he claimed to be a Mora.
Brett Mora, it rolls off the tongue, and I feel like I'm one of the brothers too. So
that's right, guys. With TheMoraPartners. Okay, check us out. See you guys soon.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Of course.